Thank you to everybody for coming along, and I'm going to hand you over to Fern. Is it you first?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jules, and hi everyone. Thank you so much for having myself and Amy here with you today. So I've got some slides that I will just start sharing my screen. Okay, and oh, there we go. Hopefully you can see that. Sorry, I've had to share it in a PDF. It's just I've been having issues sharing PowerPoint recently. If you have any issues seeing the words, I think if you press Control and then the plus sign on your keypad, you should be able to zoom. So hopefully that will help. But yeah, hello. My name's Fern. I am a project manager and I specialise in kind of workforce. And I've been working with the Digital Academy team on hopefully improving the application and selection process for cohort 4 of the Digital Academy, which we're now open for. And we've got Amy, who will be also presenting today, but I'll let her introduce herself when she gets onto her slides. So I hope that's all right. So without further ado then, so I'll start talking about the Digital Health Leadership Programme, which is what kind of the Digital Academy is known as at the moment. That's the programme. So we've recently launched a new website and we're already open for cohort 4 applications. Our website is quite new and it's continuing to evolve, but any feedback on our website is welcome. We'll pop the link in the chat a bit later. A bit about the timeline. So as I say, the application window for cohort 4 is currently open and applications have actually been extended slightly now to just account for the bank holiday weekend. So they'll now close on the 4th of May, just before midnight. It was originally the 30th of April, but we figured we might as well leave it until the end of the bank holiday weekend just to give people a bit more time. We'll then undertake shortlisting with a view to notify individuals of their outcomes by sort of June, July time, and feedback and signposting will be available to all applications by July and August. So we're making a really big push on feedback this year. We are finalising this part of the timeline slightly, so we don't have the firm dates of exactly when you can expect your feedback yet, but this will be available really soon. Those who are successful in their applications will complete the academic admissions process with Imperial College London. And we just want to highlight that degrees shouldn't be a barrier to applying. We know degrees can look different in different fields, and this isn't a prerequisite. But as part of the admissions process, you will be asked to provide previous academic records or evidence of equivalent professional experience. This is a really well supported process, and if you're concerned about this step at all, please do get in touch with us beforehand. And our preference for cohort 4, as long as it's safe to do so, is to include a minimum of 3 days in-person learning in a 2-day and 1-day block. In addition, there'll also be an in-person graduation ceremony, and residential 1 will be taking place the 21st to the 22nd of September. Residential 2 will be taking place the 7th to the 9th of December 2021, but these will be virtual because obviously you all know the situation at the moment. We are hoping that residential 3 and 4 might be in person, and the dates will be available for those very soon. So just moving on then. So in terms of the Digital Academy, who is it for? Fundamentally, individuals need to be in a role where they're required to drive and implement practical digital transformational change within their organisational system. And you will need to evidence that in your application, but we'll talk a bit more about that in the application process section later. Individuals need to be working in an NHS, public health or social care role in England to apply. We know that kind of specific job titles and associated responsibilities can vary a lot in this space. So we're not excluding kind of anyone on that basis. Applications for the remaining 3 nations aren't open yet, but this is currently being explored and we'll share this on our website when there's more information. The Digital Academy is fully funded by Health Education England for those who are eligible to apply, and there's 100 places. This includes overnight stays for the multi-day residentials, but individuals and their organisations will have to pay for any additional travel costs or other associated expenses. We do have some entry criteria which are listed on this slide. Just for the first point around the 3 to 5 years of relevant experience, we would just like to stress that for some people that might mean drawing on experience in previous roles that maybe didn't have kind of informatics or digital in the job title, but where you still had involvement kind of in that space. As we kind of already said, we know job titles are not linear at all in this sort of area. So if you get on the programme, what will you do differently? So as part of the programme, you'd start by setting out your goals for the year in a personal development plan, which would be agreed in advance with your exec sponsor. And from the start of the programme, you'd be expected to engage in reflective practice about how you're progressing towards those development goals. As part of undertaking the programme, you'll need to identify themes or programmes of work which are of strategic benefit to your organisation. You'll need to apply your learned skill and knowledge to practice in the workplace using these themes or programs of work. And this will hopefully enable you to apply best practice models, frameworks, and approaches. Throughout, to support your reflective practice, you'll use learning journals, and this will hopefully enable you to capture translation of your learning into practice to achieve real world impact and change. And at the end of the programme, you'll celebrate completion, presenting highlights of your personal, professional and personal growth and impact in the workplace to your peers. Just to flag, the recommended study time for this is 5 to 8 hours per week, just on average, but this can actually be up to 10 to 15 hours, including approximately 3 hours of engagement with online content, 2 hours of core reading, and additional time to engage with your peers. And during assessment weeks, these hours will be put towards completing kind of specified assessments. Now I'm just going to hand over to Amy to provide a bit of an overview of the programme in a bit more detail, along with the support you can expect on your journey.
Yes, so as well as churning out so many resources that are already available for you in the chat, I just wanted to say hi everyone. My name is Amy. I am the PG DIP Digital Health Leadership Programme Lead with Imperial College London. And on this slide, I just want to give you a quick glance across the programme. We'll start with a digital onboarding at the end of August that will give you access to Imperial systems as well as to pastoral support and short online modules preparing you to academic study on a postgraduate level. I know that many of you have equivalent study experience, so this is just in case you will need to get brought up to date with referencing and writing and such academic matters. From module 1 onward, you see 5 modules on the top of this graphic. We'll be giving you grounding and overview of health systems, and gradually we'll introduce you to more specialist areas of health and care. The modules are delivered online using blended learning, live webinars, and live assessment tutorials to make sure that your learning is guided how to apply that to the workplace, and also that your assessments are in dialogue with what you're actually doing on the day-to-day. The leadership module that you can see on the bottom left corner, it's module 6, it runs across the year, parallel and also in dialogue with your online modules, starting with your personal development plan that you will agree at the start of the program with your exec sponsor. It will help you to forge connections across the cohort, to collaborate with others. It will also guide you on how to apply learning to your work and inform your reflective practice that you'll be engaging with across your learning journey. Next slide, please. And here I just wanted to give you a snapshot that from the start of the program, we scaffold your learning with a variety of services and structures. Imperial has a comprehensive set of resources to accommodate a range of accessibility needs, learning differences. From the point of your accepting your offer of study sometime in August, you'll have access to our dedicated and absolutely brilliant teaching fellows who can advise on bespoke, like tailored to you support from the get-go to ensure that we set you up to succeed in the program. They'll provide pastoral care in addition to overall arrangements should any unforeseen circumstances arrive. With COVID, we obviously learn about how work shifts, and should say your workload change or there is a cancellation of study leave, we are there to support you throughout the process and kind of keep you on track with the program to complete within the year and give you the requisite support to help you along. Another resource I suggest you consider at the application stage is your executive sponsor. They should be acting as your ally in the workplace to ensure that you have the requisite time to study, to be your sounding board with ideas and applied learning, and to empower you to translate your learning into practice throughout the year on the PG dip. And finally, I really want to highlight, and without them, I mean, they are just absolutely brilliant advocates for the program. The NHSDA family that is lively and growing, and it's a community of people who are currently and or have been on the program. Many of them remain active and advocate for digital health leadership within the broader health and care system. They regularly return to share case studies and how they continue applying their learning from the Digital Health Leadership Program to their workplace, and many are available for advice and mentoring, committed to grow our communities of practice. That's me.
Thanks, Amy. That was great. So now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the application process itself for this year. So hopefully this will answer hopefully lots of your questions you might have about that. Oh, one. So as part of the future vision and evaluation scoping work that's been done around the NHS Digital Academy, it became really evident that we needed to do some work to support collaboratively around inclusive recruitment. So a full report of kind of the research that we've done so far is available on our website, and we'll put the link in the chat for that a bit later if you're interested. But we're really pleased to have strengthened some of our practices ahead of cohort 4, working closely with Imperial College London as part of this work. This really includes, for example, ensuring that we're increasing the reach to previously underrepresented groups, and having a more transparent assessment criteria, which is fully available for candidates to review, and also increasing the diversity of our shortlisting panels as well to make sure it's a nice diverse bunch of people. It's important to note, however, that this isn't the end of us kind of developing an inclusive recruitment process, and we will very much keep learning, and feedback is very, very welcome. So we've introduced kind of 10 different interventions for cohort 4, which we're hoping will make a difference to the kind of inclusivity and diversity of our cohort. There is still more that can be done and more that will need to be done in the future. You can see on your screen now kind of some of the ways that we're trying to do this. But if you do have a look at our report, we'd really appreciate any feedback you might have on our approach so that we can continue improving our practices. And we're well aware that it's not the answer for everyone, and that we hope that there are additional offers that we will be putting out kind of over the next year or couple of years, alongside the kind of wider work in the system that's going on, which will hopefully help plug some of the gaps that currently exist. But it is a long process, definitely. So in terms of the kind of assessment questions themselves, a bit around, what will we actually be asking you as part of your application? So other than your sponsorship and personal information, you'll also be asked to provide the answers to 4 assessed questions. These questions will be used for the shortlisting and will be objectively scored. Each question is 2,500 characters, including spaces, which is approximately 400 words. We had to do it in characters, unfortunately, just because of the form that we were using, which is a bit annoying. We would have rather put words, but it's approximately 400 words. And you can also draft it online. We've got an offline version of our application form. It's also really worth noting, please don't include any kind of personal details like your name in those 4 questions, just because our shortlisters are scoring this blind, so we really want to minimize any bias that there might be in there. We're sharing this kind of information up front so that you know what we and our shortlisters are looking for. So all of our shortlisting criteria is available on our website in the offline version of our application form, which again we'll signpost you to in the chat just when I've finished with this bit. But hopefully this will help individuals who are applying to determine whether they're currently in a role where they'll be able to apply the learning from the programme and kind of understand what we're looking for. What other support is there available then throughout the application process? So we're well into the application window now. We opened on the 1st of the month, and we have various support available throughout the application process. So we've got an application checklist and shortlisting criteria, as I've already outlined on our website. We're also running a series of drop-in sessions throughout the application window, so that's your opportunity to kind of come and ask any questions you might have. We're hosting panel sessions like this one with alumni, and we've got another one of those next week if you're interested in joining another one. And we've got various videos, including hearing from the experiences of cohort 3 who are currently on the programme, and they're all available on our website. And we've also asked our alumni where possible to share some of their stories via Twitter. And finally, we've got a dedicated email address available to answer any additional questions you might have. So please do get in touch with us via that email address if there's anything you can think of that you want to ask after today. In terms of those upcoming sessions I just mentioned, this slide kind of just highlights those. I'll circulate these slides afterwards, of course, so you can click on those links to register to attend any of those. And finally, here you can just see a reiteration of the recruitment and admissions timeline, just in case you needed to refer to that at all. But that's it from us in terms of kind of the application side of things. And you know, please do ask any questions in the chat. But I'm now going to hand back over to Jules and Delise to hear about Delise's experience on the academy.
Hi, thank you for that, Fern. Hi, Delise.
Hi, Jules.
So we're just going to tell anybody, if you've got any questions, please put them into the chat because it will be really valuable. The first thing I think everybody wants to know is, how have you found the course itself?
I'm currently just completed module 3, so I'm about halfway through the course. I've been a digital midwife for more than 20 years, and this has just opened up a complete new vision of digital maternity. I never professed that I knew everything, but I was competent and very experienced in digital midwifery, but it's just opened up a whole new vision on how I would approach projects going forward. So I'm only halfway through. It's been an incredible learning experience, and I don't want to have any more modules to have to complete, but I would love to keep learning. It is brilliant. I'm really enjoying the course.
How are you finding the pace of the course? Because sometimes that's a concern, especially if you're full-time working, even if you're part-time working and have a family. How have you found the pace of the course in conjunction with your job?
For my cohort, as anybody studying at the moment, we joined the course. I joined with expectations of what my personal life was going to be like during the next year, and my work was going to be like during the course of the year. And obviously COVID struck, so not only so I'm doing a course, but my personal life and my work life is not as I had planned it to be during the course of COVID. It is extremely demanding, but in peaks and troughs to some degree. There is continued learning throughout the modules, but there are certain elements of the course that require more focus, and so it is in peaks and troughs. I work full time. I am struggling to get any release time from the trust for study. I'm released to attend the virtual residentials, but everything else so far has been in my own time, and my annual leave is being used for my study. But that is obviously pertinent to my trust at the moment. But it's hard work, but valuable. And every time I'm reading something, I want to read something more, and then I want to read something more. So it's really empowering and enlightening.
If you had to pick out, you've done 3 modules now, so if you had to pick out three light bulb moments or three things that you've taken away, what would you say they would be as it stands now?
At the moment, I think the things I've learned, we did an element in the module where we looked at, we did a Clifton strengths and weaknesses, and it surprised me how I scored on those elements, and it made me reflect on the strengths that I did had. It made me actually value those strengths. Equally, my lesser strengths, it gave me the light bulb moment that actually, as long as I put strategies in place on those elements that are slightly weaker, they actually can become an advantage. So just looking at my personal strengths and weaknesses, that was really good. For projects, I'm one, like probably most digital midwives, I just inspired by anything digital, and I think, yes, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. One of the things I think the course has really taught me, that unless I've got stakeholder buy-in to see the project through to the end, I'm actually wasting a lot of energy. So that has been it's changed the way I'm working going forward. And equally giving ownership back to stakeholders that are part of projects, so that it doesn't all sit within me, because it's very easy for everybody to put everything on the digital midwife, and it's actually about pushing some of it back to the ownership of people that are involved in projects. I think they are huge learning curves. I think the other thing is, I am the only digital midwife, but we're really good.
Yeah.
And actually, we have so much experience putting digital practice in. I think we actually are forerunners of digital clinical work, and that hasn't really been reflected in a lot of conversations I've had outside of digital midwives. This has opened up that door, and it's made me really want to fight to get more digital midwives on this program.
Quite surprised, aren't they, about where we are and what we've achieved so far. I think that's I found that in some of the other networks that I've been involved in, that they find it quite shocking how far ahead we are.
I think it's actually helped with the studies. I mean, I haven't done any academic studies for quite a number of years, but every single assignment I have been able to really relate to practice. I have experience of those changes. I have experiences of the difficulties. So when we have to do reflections and look at critical analysis and also recommendations going forward, I think as digital midwives, we've sort of come through that cycle, or that's what we do in our daily job. So I found the assignments easy to focus on. I perhaps don't find it quite so easy to get the words down on paper, but that's part and parcel of the course.
So I've just seen there's a question coming for you that says, are you free to say what your piece of improvement benefit work is?
What I would say is it's we are in a very changing landscape. So and I think most people on this course, the projects that we're starting off with on our improvement piece is not necessarily what we end up at the end. And I have landscape is changing and stakeholders are changing. I am now on my fourth sponsor for the project. Because we have had quite a significant change of leadership, and they're not staying in post very long, and then they're moving on. So my projects are evolving and they're moving, but it's all around digital maternity. But there's no one specific project I'm actually really focusing on at the moment.
Can I ask you a question? What encouraged you to go for it in the first place, and what do you hope to do with it at the end of it? I mean the course, obviously.
Yeah. So as I said, I've been a digital midwife for a number of years, and I've been frontline in driving digital change. I was I was in a trust where we were a forerunner within the National Programme for IT. So I have seen digital change for a number of years. And a number of people were approaching me saying, oh, you should be going on this course. You really should be going on this course. So I'd seen about it, but I'd thought I've got too much else going on. And then I was in a meeting where the trust stood up, and I'm sorry for any people that wear suits, and I'm sorry for anybody that is a man that's in this audience, and they were all men in grey suits, standing up there telling me about the digital change, the digital roadmap for the trust, which included maternity services. It wasn't maternity focused, but it was about, and I thought, you do not represent me. You do not represent the midwives, and you do not represent the mothers that we care for. And therefore, if I want that change to happen, I have to stand up and be part of it. So For this course, for me, I wanted it to empower me with some skills and a toolkit to be able to have those conversations, and for it to open doors. And certainly the course, already just purely bang on this course, I have found that doors have opened. People are coming to me and engaging me in projects outside of maternity to drive, and outside the trust to drive change across the LMNS. So purely by being on this course, I've achieved that, but I feel more empowered and more confident to have those conversations and to back up my arguments because of the course that I've done so far.
So what would be your biggest piece of advice to anybody who's thinking of applying, apart from go for it?
Go for it. I think it is really important to ensure that you've got a degree of support around you, because you can do the most fantastic course, but if you are not then going to be connected to be able to make any change, it can be almost more frustrating, because you've suddenly got all these skills and you still can't open those doors. So you do need support from a sponsor, even though, as I said, I've gone through 3 and maybe now 4 sponsors. You do need sponsorship support within the organisation to facilitate you in your journey as a digital midwife, so that it's about helping you to open those doors. The sponsor really is key, although in my case I have had some struggles with that.
Okay. Anything that you wish you'd done that you haven't done yet, or anything that you hope you will be able to do in the future?
Part of this course for me was like networking. And I have found that, and it's you know, one of those events of COVID, we've not been able to have the face-to-face residentials.
Yeah.
Everything has been virtual. That does make it quite limiting. We are put into small peer support groups. Unfortunately, the peer support group that I'm within is not particularly active. Some of the peer groups are extremely active, and some of them less so. So it's just per chance. My group is less active.
Okay.
And so for me, that is probably one of the things that I've not necessarily achieved as much as I could have, but that's just circumstances of the course.
Delise, absolutely inspiring. There's 20 other midwives on this call who I'm sure are all going to start wanting to look. And you know, the big thing for me is, and everybody knows this, from the very first day of saying let's do empowering the midwife, the digital midwife sessions, this was about giving people the opportunities to take and run with the opportunities that are out there. You know, there are so many, but finding them is a bit of a nightmare. But you know, and now I am really hopeful. You know, I'm somebody who applied for the Digital Academy. I didn't get on. I was quite disappointed not to then get any feedback, because like you, I had lots of people going, you should be doing this, you should be doing this. But I believe that's changing now, and I'm really hopeful to see more of you on the course for cohort 4, and can't wait for you to start sharing with the next lot for next time.
Certainly, I mean, one of the things I did feel that I was, you know, I wanted another midwife to reach out to on the course. I know it was about networking outside of midwifery, and that was one of the things I wanted, but I did feel that, yeah, there wasn't another midwife that I could reach out to that could understand some of the peculiarities that we experience in the midwifery world. So, so yes, I absolutely, you know, we need midwives there. We need, I think one of the things, actually, people are now recognising what midwives can do on the course. So I'm actually finding that people on the course are reaching out to me to find out, because we do have so much experience. So yeah, I absolutely implore all of you that's on there, you do make sure you've got some support network, because that will help you, but do apply for it, because we do need more midwives to be showcasing what we're doing as digital midwives.
You need to keep blazing that trail. Can I just ask, has anybody got any questions that they would like to ask? Anybody that's here? Now, it's not like you lot to be shy. Delise, if anybody would like to know anything outside of this session, would you be happy to take direct approaches?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
I don't want to overload you, that's all.
Sometimes it's easier, everybody's got different circumstances, and I think sometimes that might navigate whether or not they feel this is the right course for them at this time. So absolutely, if you go via yours, and then I can pass on my details.
Okay. If there's no other questions, Coralie, did you have anything? Just drag you in there. Where's she gone? I thought she had one earlier on. I don't know why I did. And I think pretty much it's been such a great cover from yourselves at the Academy and Delise's experience. I think it'll be really valuable for people. Oh, hang on. Being new to my role, I'm concerned I don't have enough knowledge or techie lingo for the course. Is that something? It's something I really want to do. Is this something I'll be able to learn through the course?
I think I'll start really briefly from the course content perspective. I mean, techie lingo, I don't even have the techie lingo, so there's definitely, you get a good theoretical grounding for sure. After all, this is being delivered in consortium between Imperial College, University of Edinburgh, and HDR UK. So if you want to dive deep into techie lingo, you will have the chance to do that. But I don't think that lingo or any sort of signifiers of just how digital you already are necessarily important at the application stage. We're more interested in how you envision that you can create impact by applying what you learn. And I would definitely well, techie lingo is not one of our application criteria, is it, Fern?
No, and do you know what? In our shortlisting criteria, that our shortlisters are provided with, right at the top in big bold letters, it says something along the lines of, please do not let academic language or technical language influence the scoring of this application, because that's something that, based on feedback, loads of people have said to us that they're concerned about in their application, and absolutely this should not be a barrier at all. So hopefully it won't be.
Here's a great question. So my executive sponsor has already emailed the Academy and I've not yet applied. Will they be able to match the two together?
Yes, absolutely. So we're keeping record of all the exec sponsor confirmations that are coming in, and putting, so they have to say who they're sponsoring, so they'll put your name on that. So yeah, we're keeping record of all of that, and they will absolutely be matched up with any applications that come in. And just on that note, because of this weird system that we're using to kind of record this, if we are missing any exec sponsors for applications, we will be reaching out to seek those. We won't just be assuming that people don't have the sponsorship. We will be making sure that we've found it. So yeah, please don't worry about that.
Okay, so another question is, how did the change in sponsor and project fit with the course? Was it a stumbling block? Because I feel it may have been limited by funding for any project and things may have to adapt along the way. I think that's aimed at you, Delise.
Each module has its own remit. So whilst each of the modules can link together to be for one project, they actually can be seen in isolation. And I think a lot of people on the course, their projects have had to change because of COVID. We've had to change our focus on assessment. So in module 1, we had to do a lot of process mapping. I know the DMergs have been talking about that recently, but there was about doing a process map. In module 2, it was about writing a business case and putting that forward. In module 3, it's been more looking about frameworks and comparing and contrasting frameworks. So every element is different. So for me, they've actually had a central core theme, but the actual specific focus of it, I've been able to focus directly on something that I can see through and that time of the module. So it's broken up, but it has a common theme. Fabulous. And funding for projects. I think some of the candidates have had to improvise as to how they would put it through, or they have to sometimes step into somebody's shoes to write the article because they might not necessarily have the direct authority to make that change. So the support mechanism around you to help guide you with your assignments is very flexible but very helpful.
Tosin's just asking, she's on secondment from her LMS, at her LMS. Would she still be able to apply? I'm guessing that depends on being able to get the sponsor.
So yes, absolutely, you can still apply when you're on secondment. I think the party line that we've kind of gone for at the moment is basically I think your executive sponsor needs to be from your kind of substantive organisation, but we would expect kind of both employers to be aware that you're going on the programme and be comfortable with that. Amy, I don't know if you've got anything additional.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add that we are very used to the shifting priorities across trusts, and we know that it's not only that you might be redeployed or seconded somewhere, but your exec sponsor. So we have a process to keep hopefully track of them. And this time round, at the time of your joining, they also get a mandatory briefing of what's expected of them, which we really, really hope that will, impart that actually this is a benefit for the trust and how kind of they can use and capitalize on your knowledge so that the work rewards the broader team at the trust. So that's an intervention. There is a very brief briefing. If you scroll up, I already put a video link, but I will just find it again on the role of the executive sponsor. That is available on YouTube. Exec sponsor briefing here. Oh, thank you.
No, don't worry. It's on this page of the
Great.
website that I've just popped in the chat. It's right down the bottom.
So that is something that we are trying to scaffold your coming on to the learning program. And to answer the other question, when there is a secondment, I would absolutely echo Fern's words. You will be expected to implement. So if you are in full-time 100% secondment onto another trust, you will have to have buy-in from them as well, so you can do those changes in your day-to-day work setting. So while we expect to have buy-in from your original kind of substantive trust, it's going to be very helpful and more impactful if you have buy-in from both parties. Which exec sponsor you should nominate? I would say that the one that you're working with for the duration of the program. And if you're switching in between, no problem, we can switch your sponsor as well.
Okay, do you have to complete a project physically in order to complete the course, or can it be indicated in the work you submit and the plans, ideas that you have, if not able to put into practice within the timescale? A lot of digital midwives are actually working on massive projects at the minute, so yeah.
So I can add details on our side, but Delise, I think this one is for you.
Yeah, it goes back to what I said before. I mean, so for like my process map, I did a process map for the whole of digitalising antenatal screening and all the KPIs that were involved in that. Now, I've hit blockers to progress that forward. So yes, I've achieved the goal of creating the process map. I've achieved the goal of giving to the next step what they need. But that's where that part of the project has reached. The business plan in module 2 is all written, it's all been submitted, but then that reaches that part. I think those of us at Digital Midwives, you're very used to having lots of projects all on the spin, all at the same time. You've lots of things that you move forward on a bit, it blocks, you go forward on something else. And this is a little bit, but I think the point with the Digital Academy is to try and see those projects through to the end. So it's about using these skills to try and actually push those blockers through. But certainly it's not one project that you have to see right through to the end.
And I would add to that we in cohort 1 way back, we had just one project that we expected that you would complete, and we really quickly had to realize it's not how the world works. So I think that to kind of build on what Delise was saying, we have a process of reflective journals that start from the very beginning of the program, that will document for yourself how you are applying your skills. And I think that for almost 100% of the people, it's going to be in multiple projects for the coming cohort as well, because you will sharpen and hone skills in different areas of the work, and all will be reflected in how you conduct yourself on the day-to-day. So I think that that is a very useful tool to document your development, but no physical project is expected.
Okay, fabulous. I have a question. 100 places. There's 120 few more digital midwives versus lots of AHPs and nurses. Is there an allocation by size of group? So I'm trying to work out how many, is there already in mind kind of how many places you're potentially going to offer out, and or is it a free-for-all?
So that's a really, really good question. This year we've decided to not use quotas or kind of positive discrimination or kind of ring fence places for certain groups, and the reason for that is there were a number of other changes we were able to make to just kind of minimize bias in general and try and make the application process objective, basically to try and minimize as much bias as we can. So as I mentioned earlier, this is very much a learning process, and we don't know how many places, you know, will end up going to midwives or AHPs or non-clinicians or medics. We don't know, because we've tried to remove the bias rather than ring fence places, and we might get it wrong. I think it's important to say that at this point, you know, we're trying to make improvements, but we don't know. If for whatever reason, you know, there aren't many midwives that get onto the next cohort, or there aren't many AHPs, or there aren't many nurses, you know, depending on, we don't know how it's going to go. We will very much consider using quotas and kind of thinking about ring fencing places for certain professional groups going forward. It's just, you know, we're trying this way first to see if it makes an improvement, and if not, we will definitely try a different way.
So Coralie, does that answer your question about can we have back spaces for the previous years with no midwives?
It was meant to be a little bit facetious.
I think you know, fair play.
Can we? I'm joking.
Put me on the spot, Jules.
Yeah, I know, it's the best way to do it. So has anybody got any more questions, or is there anything anybody else wants to say? Because I think realistically we've had so much information out of this, and it really has been useful. And if I wasn't on my other course at the minute, I would definitely be applying this year, but even I'm not that sadistic to myself. So you know, I really wish everybody who does apply all the best. But listen, don't be disheartened. I think this year in particular, if you don't get a place, because you'll find out why, and then you just go for it again next year. If not you, then who?
Totally agree, and thank you again for having us, and it's been lovely to speak to you all.
Thank you so much. It's really appreciated.